In the year 200 CE, a rather curious decree rippled out from the heart of the Roman Empire. Emperor Septimius Severus, a man not known for his delicate sensibilities, issued a ban. It was not a ban on a particular cult, a type of imported spice. No, far more specific. Severus declared women were forbidden from gladiatorial combat. One must pause and consider the sheer oddity of this. For an emperor to expend political capital and authority on this, one thing is clear. Women were in the arena. They were making quite an impression. The arena was a microcosm, a theatre of violence, discipline, social hierarchy. Women entering this brutal ballet disrupted the script. Imagine the stands, the roar of the crowd, the smell of blood and sand, the glint of sun on polished bronze. There in the centre, two women, armed and armoured, ready to fight to the death. Not a novelty act, a spectacle that drew fascination, consternation. The ban was a direct response. An emperor wrestling to control a narrative spinning gloriously, dangerously out of his hands. One does not, as a rule, bother to prohibit things that are not happening. You will find no Roman laws forbidding senators from attempting to fly by flapping their arms from the Palatine Hill. Laws are reactive. They are created in response to a behaviour that has become prevalent enough or disruptive enough to warrant official intervention. Thus, the very existence of Severus's ban in 200 CE is the most compelling evidence we have for the significance of female gladiators. The Romans had a word for these women, gladiatrix. It is a word that appears with tantalizing rarity, found in fewer than 10 surviving inscriptions and texts. Its scarcity speaks volumes. It suggests that while these women existed, the official chroniclers of Rome were deeply ambivalent about acknowledging them. When a gladiatrix entered the arena, she was not simply a woman with a weapon. Like her male counterparts, she would have been trained in a specific combat style, equipped with a specialized set of arms and armor. Of all the women who fought and died in the arenas of the Roman Empire, only one has come down to us by name, immortalized not by a historian's pen but by a craftsman's hand. Her name was Achillia. Her story is captured in a magnificent marble relief discovered at Halicarnassus in modern-day Turkey. The relief depicts two female gladiators locked in combat, their names carved proudly above their heads. Achillia, Amazon. Here, frozen in stone for 2 millennia, is undeniable proof of the gladiatrix in her element. This single piece of stone is a window into a lost world. Who were these women who chose to trade the spindle for the sword? The historical record, though sparse, suggests they came from the fringes of Roman society, slaves, prisoners of war, condemned criminals. For these women, life was already forfeit. The ludus offered a sliver of a chance to survive. A skilled gladiator who pleased the crowd might be granted freedom, the rudis, a prize worth a brutal death. The arena was a desperate, violent ladder out of slavery. Not all gladiatrices were low-born. Juvenal, the satirist, railed against them. Boredom, a thirst for excitement. For low-status free women, the motives were pragmatic. Life for the poor in Rome was precarious. Weaver, market seller, tavern waitress, earning a pittance. A successful gladiatrix earnings could mean real independence, high risk, high reward. She traded her place in the social order for fame, fortune, brutal self-determination in the most public, unforgiving theatre on earth. For centuries, the story of the gladiatrix was confined to a few lines of scornful text. But archaeology, as it so often does, has a way of digging up inconvenient truths. One of the most significant finds came from a Roman cemetery in Southwark, London, a site known as the Great Dover Street Cemetery. Analysis of skeletal remains from these sites has begun to challenge long-held assumptions. In some cases, female remains have been identified that bear the telltale signs of traumatic injury, consistent with gladiatorial combat. Healed parry fractures on the forearms, blade wounds on the skull, robust bone density associated with rigorous physical training. These bones tell a story that texts cannot. So, if gladiatrices existed, earned fame, left their mark in stone and bone, why were they erased from the popular view of ancient Rome? History is not a neutral record of events. It is a story told by elite men. Historians like Tacitus, poets like Juvenal, politicians like Cassius Dio. They guarded Roman identity, and the gladiatrix threatened that worldview. The erasure wasn't always a conscious conspiracy. It was a campaign of neglect and scorn. When historians mentioned female gladiators, it was usually with disapproval or mockery. They were framed as exceptional and freakish. Chroniclers denied them a place in the history of the games. Only now, by re-examining texts and using new archaeological science, can we piece together a more accurate picture. We are challenging the biased narrative of the Roman elite. History is often written by the victors. In Rome, those victors were the men who held the pens. The women who held the swords were a dangerous anomaly. And for 2,000 years, the official story acted like they were never there. The tale of the Roman gladiatrix is more than just a curious historical footnote. It is a profound lesson in resilience and remembrance. It is the story of women who, against all odds, carved out a space for themselves in the most masculine and brutal theatre imaginable. In the blood and sand of the arena, they found a perilous form of agency, defying emperors and upending social norms with every swing of their swords. Achillia, Amazon, the unnamed woman of Southwark, are emblems of a forgotten courage. They remind us that history is full of silent voices, and that the most compelling stories are often the ones that were never meant to be told. The echo of the gladiatrix is an echo of defiance. These women were not just victims of a brutal system, they were participants who, for a fleeting, glorious moment, seized control of their own narrative. They fought, they bled, and they left behind a legacy that, after 2,000 years of silence, is finally, deservedly, coming into the light.